Welcome to In a World with Real Media. I'm your host, Brad Burrow. In this podcast, we'll dive into the lives of the most successful people in business. We'll learn how they overcame adversity, took advantage of opportunities, and learned from their experiences. Learn from our experts, get inspired, then go live your story. It's In a World with Real Media. Hello and welcome to the In a World with Real Media podcast. And I have Meghan Hovee with me today from Hovee Co, a CPA firm that your name comes up probably at least 10 times every Vistage meeting I'm in. So we'll talk about that. But let me just give our listeners a little bit of a background on what you guys do. What Hovee Company does is tax preparation, accounting, personal tax planning, financial accounting, small business tax, and bookkeeping, and probably a lot more things, right?
Yes.
There's a lot.
Right. Yeah. Yep. We cover a lot for small business owners specifically. Yeah.
And that's really your niche, is small business, really.
It is.
And you're not like enterprise and
exactly. Yep. We're very focused in our audience and who our target client is truly a small business owner. So.
All right. So I was doing a little bit of research, and you started at Benedictine.
Yeah.
And what an awesome campus, by the way. I've been up there several times for baseball tournaments.
Yes.
It's really cool.
It's really cool.
And are you from like Nebraska or something like that?
Oh man, it's been a journey to get to Kansas City here in the Midwest. So I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, grew up in Washington State.
Okay, why did I think Nebraska? That's not even right.
No, I landed in Nebraska at a point in time. So,
okay.
Yep, I had spent 2 years after high school kind of volunteering. Just, it wasn't for credit. You know, my dad would ask me, what do you get out of that? I'm like, nothing, Dad. I was just volunteering. So I landed when my mom moved to Nebraska in my 20s. I started college in Nebraska. And then I ended up transferring to Benedictine. And from there, got a full ride to Rockhurst. So that's kind of how I really landed in Kansas City.
Scholarship, huh?
Yeah.
For what?
It's actually one of my favorite stories. So this is cool that it came up. But they just randomly this one year that I was looking into Rockhurst, just kind of, could I get more out of, financial aid than I'm getting right now? They just started an interview process for transferees. And it was like, we're going to bring in about 30 people from across the country, and we're going to do an interview, and whoever wins a full ride scholarship. And I asked them, I said, so I have to do a bunch of paperwork, fill out an application? And they said no. And I was like, okay, great, I'm game, because I love interviews. That's like no problem. So we did like 3 panel interviews, and ultimately they called a couple days and said, we decided sooner than we thought, and you win the full ride. And they gave a couple other scholarships, but I got the full ride. So, and it was based on leadership and service. So those 2 years volunteering actually served me really well to then, end up at Rockhurst and kind of the rest of my career.
Was that with Reach?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
The youth ministry.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell me about that. What was that about?
Oh, it was hilarious. I mean, it was young adults leading young adults, very young. I mean, I was 18.
Yeah.
And just, you're like in a van full of like stinky 20-year-olds traveling the country, just kind of putting on retreats for, high school kids or younger. And that's how I started my journey. I think that's what's been unique about my business today is I started very passionate about just humanitarian subjects, really. So I was going to be in education, and then I thought about psychology, but I kept going back to being a bank teller day in and day out. And I thought maybe 8 hours a day, maybe money and numbers is actually my thing in terms of a career. And then I can kind of pursue other, passions outside of that. But
so it's funny, a couple things. My wife went to Rockhurst, and
funny.
she's an accountant.
Oh my gosh.
But, maybe there's a thing there, but accountants think different,
Yeah.
And so you hadn't recognized that in you till later.
No. So just for whatever reason, I didn't even know what business was. When I was at Benedictine, I had friends that were in the quote business program. I didn't know what they were studying. I didn't know what they were doing. I didn't know what accounting was. I knew that when I had this, revelation in my junior year, I thought, well, I've heard of accounting and I think it deals with numbers. And since I'm going to make this shift, I'll just start off in accounting and see where that leads me. And then I loved it. Tony Tocco is kind of famous in Kansas City. He was like my first accounting professor. He's like an absolute drill sergeant. And I remember one time he said, for all of you that pass this test, you can leave and you can, go eat bonbons. But for the rest of you, you're staying in class and you're going to, retake the test, whatever. But I loved it. I thrived. And so, yeah, I just kept going from there. But Rockhurst really did form who I am and my career journey. It was pivotal. For sure.
And then, so just kind of going through your career path, this is from LinkedIn, obviously, but Waddell & Reed.
Yes.
So that was your first job?
Yeah, that was kind of my first job in that world, kind of, bank teller. But in terms of getting more serious in my accounting career formation, I was an intern, but it was like a full-time gig, but an intern in the internal audit department at Waddell & Reed.
See, I hear the word audit and like I'm about to have a heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but you loved it? Did you love auditing or?
I loved just the numbers and, surrounded by other number nerds. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But you asked great questions because I did, from there, I went to ultimately Deloitte was the big four firm I chose to start with. And what I didn't love about auditing, at least in the public company space, what I didn't love is I had no gratification of someone being happy like with the work I was doing.
Yeah.
I realized like, man, as a bank teller, you see a smile on the other side of the counter repeatedly. I have no one smiling about like the work that I'm doing on like a micro level. So, yeah.
Yeah. That seems like some people are built for that. Though.
Yes, absolutely. That's the thing. Some people are, and just that I'm wired more for like, I just want to see that an actual person is happy about what I'm doing. I'm making meaningful change in a real person's life. And so, yeah, I could do it for sure. I love numbers and I'm happy to sit behind a spreadsheet for a day, but I don't necessarily want to do that.
So do you think that's what drove you towards small business then?
Yeah.
Is because you're working with owners that, what I found about small business is that we're passionate about what we do. The other stuff that we have to do is not fun for us, or you know what I mean?
Yes.
Accounting and stuff, and where you could actually make a difference in somebody's future.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly kind of what happened. So I first told myself, well, I want to kind of own my own schedule. I was getting married, getting into that phase of my life, and I thought I want to own my own schedule. Little did I know I would work myself harder than the big four accounting firms were going to work me.
I'm thinking, you're going to own your own schedule, huh? That's interesting.
It's about to be a ride.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll do some tax returns. And that so quickly turned into helping small businesses because some of the clients that got referred my way were small business owners in Kansas City. And what I found is they kept having me come out as a CPA, charging much higher rates than just like a staff accountant. They kept having me come out. It didn't really matter. They desperately needed someone to fill the gap in their accounting. And so I just kept doing it. And I remember one time telling my mentor, who's been the most pivotal person in my whole career, just Bruce Moore, Moose as we call him. But I remember telling him, I found this, I've been helping these clients and I kind of call it like a CFO services. And I said, it's so fun, but it's just such a niche. I'm sure I couldn't really turn it into one of our like core offerings. And I was very wrong. I would go on to prove myself wrong. But that's where it started is I like doing tax returns, but I love the gratification of these business owners who would say things like, I don't know what I would do without you. I couldn't run my business without you. And they meant it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
So
Hovee was started.
Yes. Yep.
So tell me about that, the whole decision to do it,
Yeah.
I mean, you're becoming an entrepreneur at that point.
Yes.
You're kind of become who you're helping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what has been cool is those people also served as my role models inadvertently. I learned a lot from those owners and some of them I still work with to this day. Many of them I still work with to this day. So it started off kind of as many of us do in entrepreneurship, we're just saying yes to whatever comes our way. So the first few years I was self-employed and I hired someone to, help me answer emails when I had my second child. Like that, I mean, it was just very much myself and an admin. And it was late 2019, early 2020. My husband wanted to stay home with our kids for a little while and he'd really been the breadwinner to that point. And he said, well, I want someone to stay home with the kids for a while and you are so passionate about what you do. You should just support us. And I thought, and it had been a lifestyle business at that point. I'm very busy, but lifestyle. And I was like, I think you're crazy, but we'll give it a shot. And it was not crazy. It worked out really well. So it was about COVID. I mean, it was about, early 2020 that I decided I'm going to scale. Like I'm going to do this in a way that's systematic.
Not that long ago.
No.
Yeah.
So it was early 2020. I had myself and, one other ongoing staff And now we're, up to 9 women. And we've just really gotten intentional about what are our core offerings, what do we do and what do we not do, so that we can serve our clients to the most excellent standards is the goal.
So give me your elevator pitch. What is that? What do you do? Like if you were pitching your services to a company like ours.
Mm-hmm. So our elevator pitch is really, I now say the small business market, 0 to 5 million in revenue is how we define it in terms of our services. It's not underserved, it's simply not served. So small business owners in that revenue range don't have the accounting support that they need. And our services is to come in, figure out exactly what you need so that your accounting and your financials are thriving. And then we put that in place for a fixed fee. So we want your accounting in your finance area of your business to be as streamlined and predictable as possible. And so that usually looks like a mix of, yes, we'll do the tax returns, but also some element of bookkeeping or accounting review so that your financials are really systematic. And then CFO sessions, advisory. So we really advise on hiring, on kind of forecasting, budgeting, goals, just high-level business goals that you have and how to get there. And that is what we do. We don't do more or less than that. But.
So I'm going to be a little bit transparent here. So I really, my biggest concern as a business owner for our business is cash flow. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's like where the other stuff, monthly reports and all that stuff, if my cash flow isn't good, mm-hmm. in my mind, none of that matters.
Sure.
Now, that's wrong, probably, from an accounting standpoint. But what would you say to somebody like that, because one of my challenges is that I want to build this business to a point where I'm not in the day-to-day
right.
Operation of it. So, but right now, it's like I'm in the middle of it.
Yes. Yeah.
So what would you say to that?
Yeah, so I'll be transparent back with you.
Okay.
And
oh,
say,
no. Carly, get ready to edit this one.
So I agree, cash flow is at the core of what we do as small business owners. And if you don't have cash, you can't keep making payroll. And absolutely. I think a lot of times I do see business owners get so focused on cash flow that as long as they have a lot of cash in the bank, they aren't concerned or aware of whether or not they're making money. Mm-hmm. And so they're just pushing the problem down the road. What our goal would be to do in that situation where a client's concerned about cash is to come in and connect the profitability, the profit and loss report to your cash and say, well, here's why it says you're making money on paper, but here's why you don't have that much cash in the bank. I mean, I've a few months ago helping a client and it was like, how did I make that much money? Where did it all go? And it was just a matter of looking at owner distributions for the year. I didn't take all that home. And then we look at the transactions. Okay, I guess I did. I guess I did make that much money. I guess I have taken it home. But we really need to connect your levels of cash with what your profit and loss report says and come up with a plan to where you are profitable and you have sustainable amount of cash. Absolutely, it's a good concern, but I can see it. I see sometimes even advisors get so caught up in helping their mentees with cash flow that pretty soon that person's over leveraged and really their pricing isn't sufficient to support their infrastructure, their business infrastructure. So I just think it's important to really connect both and to continue to teach your client, what their financial statements say. There's a different language for most business owners.
And you dive that deep into a business, even understanding cost and profitability and margins and things like that.
Yes. Oh, that's the value add of what we do. That's the help people aren't getting. It's again, small business, 0 to 5 million in revenue. Most of the time, you cannot afford an in-house accountant that has that knowledge, that acumen.
You're right.
And there's not a lot of people, saying that they will do that on an outsourced level. You can get a bookkeeper. They may or may not get your books cleaned up and consistently categorized.
Probably not, based on my experience.
Yes, exactly. But that's our whole mission, is to revolutionize that. People have put up with such subpar service for so long. And I don't say it to sell ourselves. I say it because it's true. I always say 8 out of 10 new leads that call us, the reason they're calling us is because their CPA has just quit communicating. Like they're like, I don't know if they're still alive. I wish I was joking. But so all that to say, I don't want that to be the norm or the standard. And that's why we are going to continue to grow. Like there's no plans to stop growing, is to continue that relationship. But yes, we get down into the nitty gritty of like, are you pricing well enough? Are you paying the appropriate wages? Are you, what's your plan? Like, you're concerned about this today, but we have to know what you want to be, where you want to be in 5 years in order to arrive at what we should be doing today. And I think I'm so big on processes. A lot of times people are just concerned with the symptoms of some of the negative symptoms that are happening in their business, but there is no process to prevent that from happening again. So we really do go to that level.
I mean, you're a business consultant then.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Yes. And to be honest with you, really a coach. And I really, for whatever, it is what it is, but I am kind of anti-trend. Coach is a really trendy thing right now. So I just don't use that label. But I agree. So we consultant, coach. But we definitely call ourselves your outsourced CFO for that reason. That is really what we do.
So one of the things I wanted to talk about a little bit was your Vistage connections.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm in Vistage as well, and it seems like your name comes up at every meeting. It came up last meeting I was in, but helping small businesses actually like that are going through the maybe they're selling or they're selling apart or that whole process. That man, that's a can of worms.
Yes.
Beyond accounting. Mm-hmm. Is that something that you're actively involved in with a lot of your clients?
Yeah. So yes, we are. It's not a ton of clients because that happens once in the course of your business typically. So yes, we are. And we're involved because we've been the ones, sort of generating the financials and helping the owner understand them. So we're kind of inherently going to be involved in those conversations, right. Buying or selling. And so, yes, absolutely. My motto is regardless of whether or not you're thinking about selling your business, maybe you're in love with it and you're in early stages and that's not a thought till 20 years from now. I am of the opinion that you should always be growing and operating your business as if you are going to sell it, not only because that can be a retirement asset, whatever, but also because it's just going to run then in the best possible way. So it's going to benefit your team. It's going to benefit your life, your quality of life. So yeah, absolutely.
I get asked that all the time. Would you, be willing to sell your business? And I'm like, I don't think so, because this is what I'd be doing if I wasn't doing this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it's like I've worked so hard to build this up to what our capabilities are right now.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to sell it.
Agree. Yeah.
But I agree with what you're saying. It's like having the mentality that you're building it into something profitable.
Right. And it's like whenever you're wrapping up, whether maybe it would get operated by your children or whatever, even if it's like, I don't think I am interested in selling. Well, what about when you're 80 and you really just it's time to, whatever that is, if you've operated it in such a way that it's sellable, it's still, even then it's going to wind down in the best possible manner, or it's going to get passed on to the family in the best possible manner. So I agree with you there.
So I want to switch gears. I want to talk a little bit about Vistage, kind of your connections with Vistage, but I also want to, we've come through the whole COVID thing, PPP and all that stuff. I mean, what was that like for you guys?
Sure.
I know that, we were not panicked, but I'm like, I heard about the PPP thing. It's like, I've got to do that. But, it's like getting set up to do business with the government. It's daunting the things you have to go through. And you guys probably took care of a lot of that for your clients, right?
Yes, we did. Yeah. Yeah, COVID was interesting. I mean, I thought when everything was set to shut down, I thought, does that mean my clients are all going to have no business? And then does that mean I'm not going to have any business? And it was just such an uncertainty. Yeah. And what I found, we found ourselves busier than ever. And actually, I would say 90% of my clients grew even more in terms of output. Yeah, we had a few that the activity dipped. but most grew. And I think that's kind of the small business product services that they're providing were pretty needed regardless of whether or not, COVID was happening. So, but yeah, we did have to just jump in the fire, figure out PPP, get applications made, and secure those funds, help secure those funds for clients. Absolutely. I think one strong asset to our company is like one of our values. We talked about the website. One of our values you'll see up there is that we absolutely believe you need to be a researcher in this industry. You just telling the one answer that you think is not an option. You have to know the right answer, and those answers change with every administration swing. Really, like legislation tomorrow is going to change whatever tax deduction we told you about yesterday. Right. So when something like PPP comes up, it's not like oh no, here we go, let's not do it because we don't know about it. No, it's what we do every day. We're always researching and figuring out how to get you to where you need to be. So anyway, we dove in, we figured out PPP, and PPP changed. That's
what I was going to say. In the middle.
Mm-hmm. At first, we thought it was this loan that you were, going to have to pay back, and then it became this loan that only certain people could have, but it was going to be forgiven. And pretty soon, anyone could have PPP, and it was definitely going to be forgiven. So, but we stayed with our clients through that and helped them obtain those funds. And yeah, COVID was definitely an interesting time for sure.
Now, have you looked at the ERC things that are happening right now? Do you know much about that?
Oh, you're going to get 55 emails today offering you ERC.
I get texts, calls on my cell phone. I mean, it's nonstop.
Yeah. So one thing, it's oversold. So you do have to have, whereas PPP, it was really just, if you're a small business owner with payroll, you qualify. And ERC has more stringent requirements with revenue dips. So you do have to look case by case, and that's not what you're told in those pitches that you get on your phone. Text messages, right? Text, voicemails, emails.
26,000 per employee.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it says. Yeah.
Yes. So we've all memorized the script.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really need to be able to go to your accountant and ask. I'm hearing that, and we do have clients do that all the time. I'm getting this pitch over and over, and we can tell them you do qualify or you don't. ERC is a good example. One thing we do in our firm is we say we are specialists at the day-to-day tax and accounting. I have clients who will have a high producing year, or they'll become high net worth. And what I do is go out and find specialists that I really trust to help process other really really credits that have a whole book of tax code to themselves, things like the R&D credit. So ERC would be a good example. If I knew a client qualified, then I would help use a reputable firm to get them that credit. But yeah, it's not like PPP where truly all these people that are getting the emails qualify.
Yeah, it's really interesting times that we live in. That there's a lot of money in that for the companies that are helping you get the ERC payments, because they are putting serious effort into it.
There is. Yeah. And you just see that in our industry, you're not supposed to take contingency fees, but they can repackage their fee in a way that's technically not a contingency fee, but it is. And so, that they're just making X dollars of whatever you're gonna get. So that's why
as a small business, you look at that's like, well, it's free money almost. Why? I don't care if you make any money off of it if you're helping me get it. So that I'm sure that they're.
Yeah. And it's understandable. That's fine. As long as you really qualify and you get the funds and that's all okay. It's just more noise. For a business owner who doesn't qualify, it's just more noise and more time they might spend going down that rabbit hole that is not for them. So
you can't turn it off.
No, I'm getting them all the time. I'm a CPA, for Pete's sake, leave me alone.
Yeah. So let's switch gears and talk about Vistage.
Yes.
Tell me how you got involved with Vistage.
Oh, such a fun story. I wish Rick from Legacy Brokers were here, but he's told this story a lot.
They're just down the street.
They are. Yeah.
I met him recently as well. They're trying to do some podcasts and stuff. And
yes,
really
I can
nice guy.
See that? Yeah, he is a Vistage friend through and through.
Yeah.
So my uncle was the first person to tell me about Vistage, and he just retired as the CEO of a large engineering firm up in the Pacific Northwest. So he had always told me how great Vistage was. Then I heard about it from another client, that he was in Vistage. And I always thought that's too big for my size. That sounds great. I'm just not there yet.
I felt the same way, by the way.
Oh, good. Okay. It's not just me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rick with Legacy, we had been introduced by a mutual contact, and we were working through some things. And as we worked through, I guess you could say issue processing, like we say in Vistage, but as we worked through it, he had said, you are like Vistage material, I guess you'd say. Like it seems like a good fit for you. And when I started in Vistage, I was a lot smaller. And so, and he introduced me to our coach, Jeff Hutzel.
Yeah.
And it kind of, what happened was we did the classic, like visit the group for a day. And I, for the first time in, 6 years or however many years I've been, it felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders, because as a business owner, sole business owner, it's a heavy responsibility. It's day in and day out. And it can be a little bit lonely, not to be drab, but, walking into that room and hearing it was the issue processing and the support that people gave each other. The speakers are great. The coaching is good, but it's the team, like community. We drop all of our pretense. We come in here and we really help each other on like the ground level. That's what sold me for sure.
Everybody's going through similar things. It always feels like to me, like, whether it's cash flow or whether it's issues, with running the business, client issues, whatever it is, it's like you learn something from kind of helping somebody go through something else that you're like, oh yeah, I've been through that.
Yes. I think the human brain, when we constantly tell ourselves, I'm the only one that's going through this, I'm the only one who's experienced something this negative, whatever, and then you get in that room of people and you realize, nope, 30 other people or 20 other people have walked this path already.
Yeah. Awesome. So I want to kind of switch to focusing on small businesses, obviously who you work with the most, and talk about some of the challenges that we have as small businesses. For me, it's COVID's changed that a little bit, but personnel, cash flow, marketing's completely different.
Yes.
But from an accounting standpoint, what are some of the challenges that you see every day?
Sure. So, first of all, it is honestly finding good help. I mean, again, when people come to us, a lot of times they've been doing their own books, then it's kind of definitely wrong. Most of the time, unless we have an accountant, whatever. But yeah, so they've been doing it themselves. Someone else has been doing it and has dropped the ball. Or it's been getting done and they just haven't had anyone walk them through it. We see that a lot where it's like, I've had a great bookkeeper, but my tax CPA won't speak to ongoing financials. So I don't have anything to do with these reports that are getting done correctly. I don't know what they mean. Don't know what to do with them. So first of all, getting that good help in place is critical so that they're right. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing how a business owner can soldier on and run their business and grow their business and consistently have bad financials as they do it. And the tax person just cleans them up just enough to file a tax return, So it's getting the good help, first of all. And then I think, having those meetings, if you want to really scale your business, you do have to grow your understanding bit by bit. You can't just ask your accountant, did I make money or not? Depending on how big you want to scale, you have to start to learn those financials. So
when you sit down with a small business owner and say, I would really like to grow my business, scale, here's my goal. Do you sit down with them and say, okay, that's great. Let's figure out a plan to do that. Here's what you're going to have to invest. Here's things like that. I mean, do you get down to that level?
Yep, absolutely. So like an example would be, someone that said, okay, we've taken on all these employees because we know we want to grow. And then when I looked at kind of the year's performance, the past year's performance, and then the forecast for the upcoming year, I had to say, hey, you have to do X million in revenue just to justify this employee investment that you've made. Let's talk about whether or not that's realistic. And let's shoot for that. So we forecasted at that revenue point. And then for a few months, I had to just keep pointing out the fact that okay, we didn't quite hit that that goal revenue, and you still have the employee spend. So I just, you can look at a set of financials and you can focus in on any given category of expense or overhead, but it does take kind of an analytical mind. It takes practice to step back and say, this is really the driver. This is driving our loss, is the fact that our employee spend is we're not at a break even for that personnel spend. So yeah, absolutely. I'll look and say, if we want to hit this revenue point in however many years, here's where you have to start today. And you can't hire that person for that role until you've hit this revenue point. Or you can, but then we've got to change your pricing. Yeah, for sure. We get into, let's say what the goal is, and then back into the decisions we have to make today.
So are you working with companies on a it feels like daily basis to do that. I mean,
sure.
Is it a monthly type thing or project? I mean, is that,
yeah.
When a company works with your team, is that just part of the?
It's just part of the package. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I will say we kind of have CFOs geared toward the different sizes. So we have one CFO, Michaela, you'd see on our website, she's pretty dedicated to self-employed individuals. So people that maybe have an employee, maybe not, maybe they're running their own more lifestyle business. So she can speak to that self-employed world who maybe they're on a Schedule C on a tax return. Yeah. She's kind of focused on that. Whereas my clients, most of them, yes, I meet with them monthly at least. I've had clients a couple times. You'll find me on some other websites because I have clients who will put me as the outsourced CFO, but as part of their team.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we'll have an arrangement with one where I'm even more invested. So each week I'm having meetings. I'm part of the admin meeting, so again, when I say we tailor it, we want our core offering to be really easy to understand, but we do tailor it to what your business needs. You can't say one size fits all. You can't come in and say every client needs a monthly meeting. For those self-employed folks, that would be overkill. For some of our bigger clients, they need to meet weekly maybe. So yeah.
What does that process look like? So let's say, we're interested in engaging. What does that process look like, to get us to the point where we're now
we're rolling. Yeah. So it kind of, I would say twofold. Number one is getting access to the accounting to figure out, do I have to improve the process? Is it good? And we're just taking it over. Do we have some cleanup? So number one, we do have to look at the nuts and bolts of the accounting and how you want to present your financials versus how they have been presented. Because if someone's just been doing them on a tax basis, we have Vistage folks who come in all the time. That's like our best referral source. Vistage people are really, they're pretty stellar. So they'll come in and they might say, this is what I know I need to understand. And we'll look at the financials and say, then we have to change up the process of producing the financials. So we have to look at that. That's step one. And our turnaround time is like, hey, from the time you reach out and want to talk, it might be a week before we've looked at the financials and figure out kind of a quote for the accounting, the nuts and bolts. And then usually it's a first time actual session of doing that sort of CFO session we do ongoing. It's a first time that then we realize we uncover your needs. Like maybe you desperately need a lot of help on a lot of levels. And so maybe we talk about meeting monthly or weekly for the beginning, or maybe you're someone, I'm pretty good. My business is pretty systematic. I just want someone to give me good reports. Yeah. Okay, we can talk about meeting less often. So it's getting into the accounting and reviewing it. And then it's also having a meeting with you to learn what your goals are, what your pain points are. And then we'll come up with this is what we think you need for like fixed services ongoing. And then to be honest, they change once in a while, but not often. Like we do a pretty good job in that first onboarding to, determine
understanding needs.
Exactly.
And what needs to happen on a monthly basis.
Yeah.
So how are you going to grow?
Yeah, great question. I've put a lot of energy into that over the last couple of years. Our method of growth is we have what we call now, it's been more, we've put a lot more structure into it. So we call it an intern to CFO program. So we take someone who is green on in the accounting, they have some accounting education experience, but maybe they don't have a ton of accounting work in the field. So we take someone who knows that they have to have the aptitude. We have to kind of determine that you would enjoy this work day in and day out, and definitely be a people person.
I wouldn't be a candidate for that.
Right. Also, there's a lot of Brads that would be like, no, pass.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of determine the aptitudes there, but then we train for it. The timeline can vary a little bit, but 6 to 9 months has been our average. We train, and those people are working with our clients kind of in a paraprofessional manner. We have paraprofessionals on staff. They work in that manner. So they learn clients, they learn communication, client service. They also learn the nuts and bolts of tax filings and QuickBooks and accounting. And then we stand them up to be a CFO who then serves their own clients. So each CFO, as we call it, has their own list of clients that I'm not helping those folks day to day. Rachel is, or Michaela is. We all operate in that manner. So we're just going to continue to grow our firm through that intern to CFO program.
Now, would they be CPAs?
They will either be enrolled agents, some other credential, or CPA, and we really support them getting their CPA. But for in our firm right now, we have 2 CPAs and 1 enrolled agent. And Michaela is arguably more of a tax whiz than even Rachel or I, because she's got such deep like tax and IRS knowledge. So we and she's the one that focuses more on the self-employed folks. So it'll range, the credential will range, but they're credentialed before they become that CFO.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you'll help them get to that
exactly.
point.
Yeah, and we'll pay for like the CPA testing if that is someone's dream. We'll pay for that. So yeah, we want to support whatever level you want to get to in your accounting career. We want to support that.
So tell me some of the things that you're doing from a marketing standpoint.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, Vistage is probably a great lead source for you.
Yes.
Are you doing other things outside of that?
Oh, that's a great question. So we have historically always had just kind of word of mouth as our main referral source. And in the last year, I have hired Mari, who is our director of marketing. So she's revamped our website, revamped kind of our social media posting. Lord help us, before we had Mari, like it was myself sporadically.
Yeah.
She really begged me, like, can we please just remove everything you've done to the point of me coming home?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we've added Mari Claire to our team in terms of really supporting and having a more cohesive message that carries through the community. So that's really been our first marketing effort, and we'll go from there. But it's just having someone dedicated to that has been our first step.
I feel like you have a lot, and your team have a lot of knowledge that could really help small businesses. I wonder if that wouldn't be a really cool thing to think about is,
Yes.
Just training us, teaching us, why do I need to do this? How do I do this?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I've seen a lot of these marketing tactics out there where you'll teach somebody something, but they'll realize that, I can't really do this.
Yes.
I thought I could.
Yep.
And then you know who to call.
That's exactly right. Yes. So that's been a passion of mine. I've always been passionate about public speaking and writing, for that matter. Those are things that don't scare me like they do a lot of people. I just enjoy that. So that's always been a dream of mine. And Mari has encouraged me that as you grow, kind of move more into the CEO role, consider really focusing on that. And it's been cool to come out to Real Media, because I'm like, wow, there are people in this community that have the tools to get us to where we want to be with that. So I agree completely. Sharing content and doing that systematically and consistently would be a great next step for us as we grow.
Do you find that a lot of the small business owners don't really understand the benefit of accounting?
Oh, for sure.
That's where my mind goes. It's like, really, we got into this because we love doing video, or we love doing what we're doing, but do we really benefit from accounting? Can you talk about that a little bit? I mean, just the process of helping somebody see a light bulb come on. It's like, oh, okay.
Yes.
I need to be doing this differently.
I see that all the time. I also see, like, I know you're used to it in your industry. There's a big underestimating of what it takes to produce accurate financials. We've got great tools these days, but if you're not trained in accounting, you still won't use the tools correctly. So it was funny, to your point about putting out a little video and that actually causing people to realize as you share the content, oh, I actually need more help than I thought after you've taught me something about this. We do that with bookkeeping. We'll say, you can do your own bookkeeping. Let us walk you through the basic steps to where you're producing the right financials. Halfway in, they're like, oh, can you just give me a quote to do this? Certainly. I think, is there a benefit to accounting for the business owner without a relationship that advises on it? Maybe not very much of a benefit. So if I'm getting really good financials and I don't understand them, then that benefit is really diminished. So I think the benefit is having good financials and then also having someone to make them meaningful. And there are business owners out there who can understand financials. My uncle, the CEO of the engineering firm, told me, he scaled beyond what I have seen in most of my day-to-day with businesses doing 0 to 5 million in revenue. But he had told me, I bought a college textbook about accounting when he was just still a manager, and I think aspiring. So if you want to go to those links, that's great. Otherwise, find someone to help you understand them. So then, yes, there's a huge benefit. Oh, last year I did $200,000 on the bottom line, and this year I'm doing $250,000, but I have less cash, and here's why. And do I want to keep investing in equipment then? Yes, there's a huge benefit, but you've got to be able to understand it.
Do you feel a sense of responsibility when you're working with clients that you need to know what's going on? Does that weigh on you at all?
Yeah, definitely. I have had to work on that because I think, especially as I started out, I felt overly responsible. And sometimes I have to let the client take more ownership, if anything. So, yeah. And we've hired a lot of people a lot like me, and I will never change that in that our team cares so much about the person on the other end of the phone or, across the desk. We care a lot, and that's a really good tension to have. But yeah, we feel a ton of responsibility, and we care when we hear, negative events that happen with our clients or whatever. We care as if it was someone who's part of our team. So certainly I feel a lot of responsibility.
How do you deal with that?
Oh, therapy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, that's a lot of weight to carry around.
It is a lot of weight. Yeah, it is honestly learning. That's a huge belief I have is your business can only scale to the extent that you're willing to grow personally and professionally. I don't think a business can grow in a healthy way a lot further than your own capacity. And so I have had to work on, having healthy boundaries in the beginning. As you know, with small business owners, you tell me what you want done. You tell me when you want it done. You tell me what price you want it done for. And we just say yes to all of it. Yeah. And I've had to, but that's been good. And I want my business owners to have the same kind of healthy self-relationship where they have healthier boundaries with their own customers and they can have more predictability in their lives. And same is true for my team. So I've had to just do a lot of, honestly, internal work. When you're working with, at one time, I probably was helping 300 different people because we hadn't dropped the tax only work. And so when you're working with that many people and that many people have access to you, you've got to get stringent on where you do bend a little bit and where you don't sacrifice and making time for yourself. In fact, when I went through a more challenging event a few months ago, my uncle said, as the CEO of your firm, you have an obligation to get refreshed. You have an obligation to take a break and get rejuvenated. And so I think you got to, the bigger you get and the more people you're answering to, the more you have to take that time for yourself and make sure that your kind of mental health is strong.
Yeah. So what does your business look like in 5 years?
Yeah. So 5 years, the goal would be up to 3 offices at that point.
Okay.
So yeah, I will say our goal next year, 2024, our goal is to have actually specifically an Overland Park office. Tons of our clients are south of the river and we're just a little bit north right now.
Yeah.
And our team, we have a couple teammates that are out south. So our goal is to have a second office. As we grow, we want to stay in small teams because that's been very successful for us. So that means 3 CFOs and they each have a paraprofessional helping them and keep the office to that size so that our clients continue to feel that small business. Like, I know all these people I'm talking to. I know how they work together. If you were to look at our reviews or Google reviews, you'd see there's a lot of reference to the team at Hovee Co. and they all help. And so we want to keep that team feel as we grow. But so 3 offices in Kansas City metropolitan area would be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. We have some space available.
There we go. All right, let's sign up after this.
Well, that's great. So I'd like to go ahead and wrap up. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would that process look like? How would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the process looks like we have it contact us on our page. It is really helpful if people fill out the questionnaire that we have there. Mm-hmm. It kind of asks what is your business size? What are you currently doing for your accounting needs? What are you looking for? That gives us a lot of information when we first, see your submission. And then we are, especially per my marketing director back here, she's big on there's a phone call that happens.
Yeah.
So we want to call and hear more of your story and go from there. So whether you use the website or give us a call at our phone number that you can find online, 816-631-5236.
And then so would a meeting happen and then tell me the process of onboarding. How does that look?
Sure.
And how long does it take?
Yeah, I will say too, my team would kill me if I didn't say this. Right now we have one CFO going on maternity leave. So we're looking at the fall timeline for onboarding new clients.
Oh, is that right? Wow.
Yeah. So it'll be here before you know it. And so as we're getting full, we always have one person coming on to be CFO, which is true now. We've got a wonderful gal, Gabrielle, who I work with day in and day out. But because we've got one going on maternity leave, there's a little bit of a pause. But when fall will be here before we know it. And that process looks like, our office manager will take down some information about what you're looking for, what you need, the experience you have had to this point. We like to know, has there been some dissatisfaction and why? And then they will get a meeting scheduled with you and a CFO to talk through, more of your needs and go from there.
Okay. Awesome. Well, that's great. Yeah. So they can reach out to you. We'll put the link in the podcast as well. But reach out and start that process.
Yep.
And, third quarter, fourth quarter, maybe.
Exactly. And it's a good time. At least we're not in like January. And good luck with your tax filing. We can't help you. So this is a good time of year. We love people that reach out this time of year or in the fall, because those are like the proactive people that know I can't turn around and get a tax return done next month as a new client. Right. So we love people who are reaching out this time of year for sure. So yeah.
One last question I thought of too. Do you have a preference? Like, I would imagine most of the smaller businesses are using QuickBooks. Mm-hmm. Do you have a preference on what platform?
That's a great question. We tend to use QuickBooks, and the people that come to us tend to use QuickBooks Online specifically, just because QuickBooks has focused so much of their resources on their online cloud product.
It used to be terrible.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Oh, it's
the online version.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything on the market that is superior, honestly. And I have my grumblings with support and service, but the actual technology of the accounting software itself is great. And I'm not speaking for payroll. If you want to get into payroll, that's a different discussion. I'm not going to advocate for their payroll service.
Yeah.
But for their accounting, QuickBooks Online. That being said, if someone uses something different and they're a good fit as a potential client, we will get in and figure that out. Like, we know how to figure out software.
I didn't even know the other ones out there.
It's limited.
Yeah. QuickBooks is really taking over the small business market.
It has taken it over. And if you want to get to where your enterprise software and your accounting software are one piece of software, true accounting. A lot of people, they get a revenue report and they think that that's accounting software. No, it's not. It's not giving you a balance sheet. Right. So all that to say, if you get to that size where your enterprise, your operation software, and your accounting are the same, that's a high dollar investment. And typically our clients aren't that size. So great question on that.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I'm sure small business people think about things like this, how to do that, and, invoicing and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the last thing, this is the last thing that everybody does on the podcast. You have to do the movie voice.
Oh.
Okay, I hope you're ready for this, because you have to do In a World with Real Media, and I'll show you. So you got to get really close to the mic and you go, In a World with Real Media. Okay, so can you do your movie voice?
Just like yours?
Uh-huh.
In a world with real media.
See, you're going to want that on the website.
Brad. That's a good icebreaker.
Yeah, you did great. You did great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I think this is going to help a lot of people. And again, just tell me how would we get a hold of you?
Yep, absolutely. Website or phone number is our kind of our main modes of communication. So the website is hoveeandco.com. That's HOV as in Victor, EEANDCO.com. That's the new website.
Okay.
And our phone number is 816-631-5236. And I will say, even with our little bit of pause here on our maternity leave season with one of our CFOs, I will say that don't hesitate to reach out to us, because we make it our mission to get you help no matter what. So if someone contacts us and said, I heard you're a great tax preparer and I only need a tax return done, we will handhold you to our colleague who we refer for that or whatever. Don't hesitate to reach out, because we want to help no matter what.
That's great to know. Well, thanks again for joining us. This is the In a World with Real Media podcast. Please subscribe, share it with your friends. Anybody needs small business help with accounting, you know where to turn now. We thank you for listening, and we'll see you soon.
This has been In a World with Real Media. Thanks for joining us, and be sure to subscribe on iTunes and follow Real Media on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn so you never miss an episode.